Yeah, I was a little, getting antsy. I was just finished dinner and I'm thinking, I got to get ready for this Greek class. Am I ready for it? Am I up for it? And then I realized all of you guys are probably feeling the same thing. Like, what did we get ourselves into? This last class was a lot of fun. A lot of people, but most stuck out. Well, maybe through the English part. And then when we started using the Greek letters, that's when they started bailing.
Uh-oh. And there is a free interlinear Septuagint.
Oh, my word.
And it's a PDF file, so you can put it on any device you want.
Do you know how many pages the Septuagint is?
The file is not bad. I'll have to look it up. It's like 9 or 10, maybe it was 11 megabytes. So it's not bad for what you're getting.
That's true. But then you have the interlinear. Now it's double the size. It's like, big old thick, I wouldn't dare print it out.
Oh, no, not to be print. I know that's right. You're a paper guy.
Yeah.
Found this that actually my dad owned. It says the New Testament in Greek here, published here in 1946.
Okay.
Okay.
I
I also found a link to a fellow that will send you a daily word.
A daily word, a daily Greek word?
A daily Greek New Testament word. And they're just charming. They're these little cards, and they have these fun pictures on it, and then they'll put it in a sentence so you can see what the usage is.
Oh,
and,
wow.
You get an email Monday through Friday of a Greek word with these really fun drawings and used in context.
Someone has more time than I do. That's dedication. Okay.
Every day I play Jeopardy on my Echo show, and they ask some question and they said something about it came from Greek, and I'm like, oh. So you have to answer it in the form of a question. But anyway, I got it right because of the Greek.
Time when I saw a Bible reference, where the quote was taken from, and it had 70 after it. And I wonder if that meant Septuagint.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Was it LXX?
No, it was the numerals we're accustomed to.
Oh, okay.
I have another example. One of my daily Bible readings this week was in the Old Testament. So unfortunately, I was only able to look at the first verse, but I got out my Septuagint. It was from the Old Testament, and read it, and I recognized some of the words. I don't want to say a lot of them, but some of them.
Okay.
But it was taking too long to read, so I only did one verse.
Yeah, most of my stuff has been either in class or on my own, just looking up a particular word in English that is, say, kind of doctrine heavy, if you will, or and wanting to know what's really the meaning of. This last week we've been studying Revelation, the Bible study I'm in, and so we got into a passage that talked about harvesting people, basically, and then it went on to talk about reaping others, and then the wrath of God was shown to that. And the interpretation in the study guide by John MacArthur was saying that the harvesting was also towards some form of punishment kind of deal. And I said, well, harvest is kind of a positive word. Usually, you get something good out of a harvest.
Yeah, grain.
And so we jumped immediately to the Greek because there's a guy in the class that's had some seminary. So he jumped on that, and I got out my interlinears and looked in both the Texas Receptus and then something a little newer using the older manuscripts, and they both had the same word, and we traced it back and said, no, there's no, it's never defined as something where you're getting rid of stuff. In fact, it's the same word that Jesus talks about harvesting the tares and the wheat together.
Right.
And the one is bundled up and thrown in the fire. Well, the second reference in that passage had to do with bundling up and throwing in the fire kind of thing. So that's a destruction thing. But it didn't use the word harvest. It used the
Maybe it
word
just
reap.
means gather.
Yeah, gather. Yeah.
Yep. Huh. Fascinating.
So anyway, that's kind of, most of mine has just been single word study type stuff, because
Okay.
I never could read enough of it to stumble through it. And
What I have tonight is a PowerPoint slides. I'm going to go back to a few early slides, some that you've seen, and just to refresh the memory, knowing that our brains leak. We aren't capable of holding an entire dictionary in our head.
I don't think I hold even a word.
So, but the fact that you guys are here tells me that you haven't given up hope. So many people, when they do come to Greek, they just see all these scrambled letters, and that's all alphabet soup to them. I heard many emails back saying, "I've forgotten everything. I don't know what's going on," and that's because we have leaky brains. Our brains do leak. So I've listed here the ways in which we can reinforce or keep the words in our memory. That's by hearing someone else speak a word. Maybe a pastor will say a Greek word during a sermon, and you go, oh, "I know that word." We can just visually see the word on paper. But when we start doing, we really kick in our learning. So if I'm speaking the word, I'm going to learn it better than just simply looking at it in a word list. If I write it, then that's getting a psychomotor behavior that registers the word in my head. And then if we can get to the point where we start seeing a word and how it looks in a sentence, then you're on the right track. You're starting to see sentence structure. You're seeing endings. You're being able to notice roots, and so that helps anchor in. But if you just let it sit there, these three things go away first. The unusual Greek letters, the ones that don't look like Latin letters, those kind of go, those go out the door first. Verb declensions just immediately die on the vine. And then words that you don't see very often. And I'm going to be showing the Septuagint alphabet list, the Septuagint word list book that I recommended purchasing, and showing how that there's certain word lists that are worth paying attention to, and others that you just have to look it up in a dictionary. So those words kind of go out the door real quick. But if you practice this hear-say method, you hear the word, say the word, or you by speaking it, you're both hearing it and seeing it at the same time. And those vocabulary lists, the ones that I put in my syllabus, are the top words that occur more than 100 times in the Bible. So if you're working on those lists, then you're going to be catching nearly all the most common words. By repetition, then you start shoving stuff down into long-term memory. It may not rapidly have rapid recall, but when you come back to a passage, you go, "Oh, yeah, I know what that letter is." Especially the Latin lookalikes, those stick easy. Once you see the OU ending suffixes, you'll never not see it again, because you're cued into that means of. Common words like kai and kurios, those get anchored pretty quickly. But you start getting familiar with word structure. So even if you don't know the word, you go, there's a suffix there, or there's an ending I recognize. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say, is that when you think you've forgotten everything we did during the summer, go back to those word lists and just say them out loud, hear yourself saying them, and just that kind of repetition. You don't have to, make, hours and hours of drills, but just occasionally going back in and saying, "Oh, I forgot that word," and give the list a chance to percolate from short-term memory into long-term memory. Then we have the non-Latin letters. These are the ones that are the most difficult for people. A and B, that's easy. D, that they look like A and B and D. Gamma.
Gamma.
Yep. This is a Z. It makes a DZ sound. There's something that looks very similar to it down here, which makes an XC sound. The difference is it's got an extra curlicue on the top, but otherwise it's drawn very similar. This one just has a single curlicue, and this has two curlicues. Next, see. This letter, in the early class, Laura and Bob, we were calling this an eta. And the more I taught the class, the more YouTube videos I watched, I was seeing a preponderance of it being called eta. And so you'll see us using a long E for this sound.
What did Leah Wendell say?
Oh, Leah Wendell thought Leah is from Greece, and she speaks modern Greek, and she would make it a long E sound.
Eta.
Yeah, but she also raked me over the coals because I was using old, Koine Greek, and she was speaking modern Greek, and the two are pronounced totally differently.
Yeah.
How about this letter?
Theta.
Or theta.
If you're British, you'll probably say theta. If you're an American, you'll probably say theta.
Lambda.
Uh-huh.
Wavelengths.
Nu.
New. See?
Da.
C, right.
Oh, they pronounce it C?
Xi.
Yeah.
Xi.
Oh, XE. Oh, okay.
Xi.
I thought it was Z.
It has a kind of a sound of it. This one makes more of the literal buzzing Z sound. This is
I
more,
only mentioned that.
yeah, this is more like exit.
XE. Okay.
Rho.
Rho,
Rho.
Sigma.
sigma, and then this is the same. This is also sigma, but it's at the ending of a sentence, end of a word.
Like this. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it looks like our modern S,
Phi or phi.
correct? And it could be drawn as a circle with an immediate drop, or it could just be a circle with a straight hash down through it.
Mhm.
Both of those are both phi.
That ending S looks too much like zeta.
The difference is zeta has this little curlicue at the top.
Yep.
But yeah, good call. And sigma, when it's in a word, is low in the line, whereas zeta is high on the line. This little curlicue is above the line.
The few times I remember it, Zeta with the DZ sound was always in the middle of a word somewhere because it needed a vowel or something after it
Mm-hmm.
to get the rest of the sound. Whereas that sigma, the ending sigma, is always at the end of the word.
Or
That
even
helps a
if
little
it's,
bit to separate them.
is in, and how to tell that they're apart. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't think you'll ever see a zeta at the end of a word, be my guess. It'll be in the middle somewhere.
Okay. I'm thinking of the word ads, but that would be American English.
Oh, okay.
How about this letter?
Chi.
Okay.
Psi.
Psi.
Omega.
Omega. The long O. Yep. So if you get stuck, you're looking in your Greek Bible or the Septuagint or the early church fathers, and you see these letters and you go, oh my word, what is that word? Just go back to your alphabet page and practice your alphabet. And if it's a letter that stymies you, I recommend that you practice writing it 5 times online and then write 5 lines of 5, just so that your hand-eye coordination kind of gets the tone that this is a zeta or an eta, and then go back to the word that you're struggling with and see if the letter pops out at you.
Mm.
I cannot think of any other way to anchor the alphabet into place unless you just practice writing them. So word structure, this is a repeat for some of you, is that Greek words have roots, and it's the guide for us beginners. And we have nouns and verbs, and both nouns and verbs have a root or multiple roots run together. There'll be prefixes in front of it, like prepositional phrases, epi, apo, and hooper and hoopa. And then they will have a case suffix. So the prefix and the root will give you the essence of the word. And then the case suffix will tell you how many of those things you have. So singular or plural. It's either 1 or 2 or more. And then the ending, how it's spelled, will tell you whether it's the actor, the nominative, the subject, whether it's the thing being acted upon, which is the object or the accusative, NA, nominative, accusative, or whether it's genitive, which says it's of or from something, or if it's dative, what if it's for something or to something. So with nouns, there are 8 case endings, but if you get stymied, just go back to the root and say, well, I know what the root is, and I'll figure out the rest later. So half the battle is trying to figure out what the root is. If we go to verbs, and the same is true for adverbs, you start with a root or multiple roots all jammed together. And sometimes, not always, there'll be a past tense flag in front of it. Anyone remember what a typical past tense flag is?
Doesn't it start with epsilon or something like that?
Yes, an epsilon. Yep. Or there might be other prefixes as well in front of that root. And those other prefixes tend to be prepositional phrases, above, below, in front of, in, exit, out of, running away from, going around, running in parallel, all those kind of words. And then the epsilon in front will say, oh, this is some form of past tense. If there's a past tense flag involved, usually, not always, there is an augment that tells you the kind of past tense it is. Is it something that happened once in the past, or is it something that is indefinite? It happened in the past, but it might still be going on. An augment is attached to the verb to give you a feeling of what kind of past it is. And then finally, you get the declensions. And as I did in all of the classes, I did not focus much on the declensions. I spent most of my time with the first person present active. So I am doing something, I loose the colt, I pour the water.
I have a question about the declension. Would you say it's similar to sort of how Spanish handles verbs, like how, like, for tener, it's like to have. For if I say I have, I say tango, or like
Yes,
you
that would.
have tienes.
Mm-hmm. So hablamos in Spanish meaning we speak, but hablo means I speak. But yes, the 6 declensions are similar to many of the European languages. Yeah, hablo, hable, hablamos. I speak, he speaks, we all speak. Okay, so that's
Hablemos.
that is word structure. And as you have gone through this class, you have filed that away into your long-term memory that your eyes will naturally start looking for a root. Now, you might not recognize the roots because it might be a word that you've never seen before, but your mind will say, there's a root in here somewhere, and I'm going to find it. All right. The other refresher slide is this one is the table, the 24 ways to say the. And it's mostly all of the clues is that there's a T, a tau in front of it. So that that's the usual clue that you got a the. And all of these endings, on, u, and o, etc., are common with many of the other tables that I have in the syllabus, like the this and that table, or these. They all have a commonality, which gives you a fighting chance of eventually memorizing these. But as novices and beginners, you pretty much need to have the table alongside you until you get so used to seeing TOU, you just think, that's obviously of the, you don't even have to think about that. But ta, would you remember that it means the many? Well, maybe you'll remember, maybe you won't, so that's why I recommend you have these cheat sheet tables. The differences from the T are the nominative cases. Both singular and plural, they'll use that H in front, the aspirated breath mark of ha or ho, or he for the feminine, hoi, like hoi polloi for plural, and hai for plural feminine. One of the things I've learned in Greek is that there's always rules until there's no rules. Everything follows this rule except for the exceptions. And then there's all these exceptions. So this is a case of exceptions. And if you just get stymied and you look in the dictionary and you can't find the word that you were looking for, there might be something going on, such as there might be a prefix like an epsilon, which tells you it's past tense, and it's not going to be in the E section of your dictionary. It's going to be in the part of the dictionary that starts with the root or maybe the prefix. And that makes it a real tough, it's like, oh, wait, how do I find this in my dictionary? And so you'll run into that disconnect, and you're thinking, oh no, maybe I've got the wrong dictionary. No, there's probably some letters that you need to lop off the front end, and then you'll find the word. Here are, this is getting more complicated now. Here are the tables that I showed to the summer class of the 2 other tenses of between a happening now tense, means this thing is going on right now, or a once in the past tense. There were other tables. I just picked 2 of them here as reminder tables. And in the happening now tense, they all follow, especially if they end with an O, they all follow this pattern of an O, ice, ai, amen, eti, us, usi or usin. The new is optional. And we use the LU because it's a very common two-letter verb, loose. And it sounds like loose. So we just like, okay, luo, I loose. Luis, you are loosing. Louis, pardon me, he is loosing. And these tables you also want to have handy. There's 4 more in the syllabus that you can work with. But I just wanted to show this particular one that we do have to deal with verb tenses when we go into our Bible passage. Then you have a past tense. This happened once in the past, and that is triggered by the epsilon, like someone had mentioned. It is indeed in front of all of these each of these declensions has an epsilon in front of it. And here's the augment. The augment is sa. And all luo type words follow this pattern of sa, sas, sen, samen, sate, san. And you'll notice, let's look at this eti. The sa in front, it's got an E there, so it's not sa eti. They drop one of the vowels. Sate, eti. Samen, instead of amen, it's samen, so the omicron gets dropped. But if you find a sa in the middle of a verb, pardon me, towards the end of the verb, you're going to say past tense. I don't know exactly which, but I know which table to go look in. And so you bring up your sa table. Here's the sa table with the sa augment. Elusa, I loosed once in the past. I loosed that colt, 5 years ago. Luo, I'm loosing the colt right now. And I'm not telling you whether I'm going to keep loosening it or I've stopped loosening it, but at this moment, I'm loosening. The sa is definitely saying, done deal. For those who were in the summer class, do you remember these charts? Did you keep them? Did you throw them away?
I saw them, but I don't remember what's on them.
Okay. So that's the thing that I bring, that I think I brought to this class that I don't see in other YouTube videos, is these charts for novices. Eventually, if you do enough Greek reading, you won't need these. These will become redundant, and because you would have absorbed them in your mind. But for beginners, these charts are very helpful.
I'm